Hello, everyone. We have Dorcia Carrillo joining us today. If you're interested in sponsoring an episode, please reach out. The email is info@n18. And let's bring our guest to the screen. Hey, Dorcia, how are you today? Thank you for joining us on Any Given Monday.
Good morning, Latoya. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very much looking forward to this.
Excellent, excellent. And so one of the beautiful and the most amazing things about having this opportunity to speak is that a lot of business owners and prospective business owners don't always know all of the things they should be thinking about outside of just creating the business. And so I wanted to have you on today to really focus on the legal aspects. I did a podcast yesterday, and the advice he gave was, you need a good legal team. So tell us about your career, your journey, and some of the work that you're doing right now.
Sure. So first, I'll start off with I am an attorney, but I'm also a business owner. And so running a law firm is running a business. And I'll give just a little bit of background. I never wanted to run a law firm because I knew that I was running a business. And I always thought I liked the legal work. I like drafting and negotiating contracts. And I like that sort of writing and analysis. So I don't need to do all of the other things involved in running a business. But I started my legal career with a corporation, a defense contractor. And I heard someone once say corporate didn't agree with her. And yeah, corporate didn't agree with me. I spent 6 years within two divisions of this very large defense contractor. And then I had gotten a promotion and I had a small team. And that's when I really knew that when you're managing a team within this sort of corporation, you really have to live and breathe those values. And being an individual contributor is a little bit different because you can sort of slide through. So that's when I started looking for a change, and every recruiter was just going to put me with another defense contractor. And I got the sense that it would be the same issues. And so I didn't want to, but I thought the only way I can, get out of this and do something different is to hire myself, run a law practice. And that's what I did. And as I said, I knew it would be running a business. And I'm a business owner, but I didn't have a business background at the time. I was, very much an attorney, legal. That was my focus. And what I see with a lot of new business owners, small business owners, and a lot of them have great success. And sometimes it seems like accidental because they're doing all these things when you take a look from a legal perspective, or other professionals might take a look and it should be exploding. But, you don't want that accidental success because it's hard to replicate. And then it's easy to come apart, right? So when you're starting a business, you have to realize, like the person on your podcast, your guest said, you can be great at, I always say you can be great at making pizza, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be great at running a pizza parlor, because you know how to make the pizza, you know how to roll the dough, or what, I don't know how to make pizza, but whatever you do to make pizza, right? But do you know how to manage a staff? Because you're not going to be able to do all of the things. Do you know how to manage inventory, because you want to make sure you have enough cheese and enough sauce, but not too much. You don't want things to go bad. Do you know how to work with regulators? Food industry is a highly regulated area. So do you know how to get the proper permits, the proper licenses? That's the sort of thing that business owners need to understand, that you can be good at the thing of the business, whether it's fashion, technology, restaurant. You can be good at that thing, but you need a team to be good at the business of it. Because even if you do have a background in business and you can do some of the things, it's just ill-advised to try to do everything. And so getting to the point of building your legal team, you want to have a team pretty much every business. And I won't speak in such generalizations, but there's going to be some sort of legal impact. And especially as you grow a business and you get outside investment, or if you're in a highly regulated industry, like I said, food and beverage, that sort of thing, anything, if you're going to have trademarks, you want to leave that to people who are skilled in doing that thing, so that one, you free up your time and energy to do what you're good at. And then you let everyone stay in their lane. So that's the start of it, the start of the conversation, understanding what you're good at, understanding what you what you need, because you don't, I hate the phrase, you don't know what you don't know, but you don't. And so you need that team of people, lawyers, accountants, just to name a few, to help you identify your blind spots.
And so I think one of the key issues that small business owners face is not knowing when to engage the attorney and what questions to ask them, and when it makes sense. Because sometimes you're looking at, how do I minimize my expenses, minimize the cost of different things. And so when I think about small business owners, that I have a few in mind, they don't know when to call the attorney or why.
Those are good questions. And typically I find that small businesses, and even within my corporate practice where I'm supporting enterprises, I typically find that people are calling too late rather than too soon. And so if you can get ahead of it, call sooner rather than later, because I'd rather have a conversation with a client or a prospective client where it's a quick conversation. And I think you and I even had this conversation once, like, there's really nothing that I can do right now to support you, but when this happens, then come back. So that way, as opposed to, I started this business and I've been using this business name and I've been operating in these places and I've been doing all these things. And now, I have an enforcement action from some government agency, or I have something that's in default. And so now I'm scrambling and looking for help. I would approach it as sooner rather than later. Think of it as the way you should approach your healthcare, right? You want to go to your doctor, so you already have a relationship. The doctor already knows you. You can establish that, you can establish some baseline, some guidelines. And then when something is hurting, or when you just, maybe you want a little Botox or something like that, you have that relationship and you can trust that person, and it's not a last minute scramble.
Yeah. And so, one of the funny things in this startup scrappy world, people get these lovely templates and they think that they can, we've been given the inspiration that we can just do anything ourselves. And
who's telling people that?
The internet. Like, I can be an expert at anything on the internet.
Turn off the internet.
Google I am a doctor with WebMD. I am a mechanic with YouTube. And now I can be a lawyer with, I'm not going to shout out any brands, but
I know Rocket Lawyer, all of them. I know them because I take a look at them to see what's happening. But for my practice, if someone is looking at those templates, and you didn't shout out the brands, but I know pretty much which ones people are looking at, then they're looking for just a product. And I offer a service. So yeah, like, I've YouTubed certain things for my car as well. And then I realized I'm not a mechanic. Like, they're using language that I don't even understand and tools that I don't have access to. And it's similar with a lawyer. Like, there might be things that, okay, I can watch someone, but am I really comfortable doing it? Do I really have the tools to do this? Do I have all of that background knowledge? And so that's the difference. Like, if you're looking for just the product, like you just want a template, then those services could work. But you have to consider, and I'll give you an example. I worked with someone a while ago, just as a favor. She had a template from one of those services for an intern, and she was going to use like a collaboration agreement or something. And I said, well, the agreement itself isn't even written that well, but you have to think about the context in which you're using this agreement. Interns, especially if you're talking about unpaid interns, that comes with a compliance infrastructure. You have to understand how you're going to be benefiting this intern. The intern isn't there to benefit your company. You're there to benefit that intern, and then making sure you have certain infrastructure in place. So it's just like, you have to understand that context. And that was garbage in, garbage out. Like, you put in the wrong inputs and then you get back something that you don't know is garbage because you didn't know what you needed to do.
Right. And so it's interesting because you're talking about the internship, like the law changed around internships, and you can't have free labor, and they've advocated in a way that you must be paying the intern or giving them something that is beneficial to them and not your company. So yeah, that's a big shift in just legal, the legal aspects of employment.
Absolutely. And those are things that if you're not operating, and I'm not an employment lawyer, but I know how to issue spot because I do enough of, like general things like that. So if you're not in that, not paying attention to that, yeah, she could have opened herself up to a lot of liability.
So, in your opinion, when you think about law and you think about the fact that there's employment law, there's trademark law, how should someone in a small business approach finding the right lawyer, or do they need a legal team? Like, what recommendations would you give? And so I'll stop there.
What recommendations would I give for what do you need? So the attorney answer, it depends. But I'm going to tell you what it depends on. So it's going to depend on the nature of your business. I keep going back because I came from defense, as I said, and that's a highly regulated industry. So it's going to depend on the nature of your business and what sort of legal issues are going to come up most of the time, what probably won't come up at all. And then you have to do like a cost benefit analysis. And you should do this with, I would start with like a general business attorney who specializes in your industry. So if you're in restaurants, you want to start with a restaurant attorney, a restaurant business attorney who understands the sort of permits you need, the sort of licenses, leases, or say I'm not a real estate attorney, but sort of leases and that sort of thing that are specific to that sort of business. And then, like I said, building that relationship, a good attorney should have other connections. Like, I'm always trying to grow my attorney network because I'm good at what I do. And when other issues come up, I want to be able to put my clients and even prospects into good hands, knowing that, okay, this person can take care of you for a trademark. This person can take care of you for your estate planning. And this firm can take care of you for whatever other things they are. So start with a business attorney, and that business attorney should specifically know your business or your industry. And then, depending on the sort of practice, they might have it within their practice where there are people who can do a little bit of everything. But typically when you're a smaller business and you're budget conscious, especially, that sort of practice usually comes at a premium. So you'll probably see that you won't go to a firm that has a lot of different practice areas. And I will say, be mindful of those smaller firms where they're doing 6 and 7 things and it's just 2 people, because, not to shade anyone, but the law can be complicated, and the more things you're doing, you might lose track of something. So really look for someone who is versed in a few things that are most important to your business, and then build from there.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. And one of the things you mentioned was that you focus on enterprise level clients. Can you share what that means and what that looks like from your perspective as an attorney?
Sure. So it'll be a little anecdotal. As I said, I started my practice because I couldn't find another job, and I came from a large enterprise. And so I worked in international trade regulations. So that's not something that most small businesses have a need for. It can be, because if you're, there are some mom and pop manufacturing outfits, and they're shipping stuff to Poland or they're shipping stuff to China, and they actually might need international trade assistance, but they probably don't know, they probably don't care. Anyway, the point is, that was my background. So when I started my practice, I thought I would help smaller businesses because, a solo practitioner starting out, I thought my analysis, my business plan, which is something that small businesses, new businesses need a business plan, and it's a living, breathing thing. Like, it's going to change because mine did. The small businesses didn't really fit the model of what services and what my expertise is. So to get into enterprise clients, I support enterprise clients, meaning multiple departments, multiple locations, some, like a lot of financial institutions. And I support them mostly on the buyer side because my practice is a technology practice. And so enterprises like banks and healthcare facilities, they consume a lot of technology products and services. And they're not just like, when you buy something in the Apple store, you clicking yes to those terms of service. That's not what's happening on the enterprise side. They're highly negotiated transactions. And so that's what I do. That's what I help with. Not that I can't draft a template contract for a growing business, but it's just been based on my background and the nature of my practice has developed that way. And shout out to Burger Gray, because I am of counsel to that firm, and they're a bunch of Skadden alums. So it's also, it's a boutique, a smaller firm, probably like 30 attorneys, but we do some really sophisticated work with some sophisticated clients.
Okay, excellent, excellent. And I think they have a few good golfers over there at that firm as well.
Are you talking about Mark?
Yes. We've got some good golfers over there. So thank you for, just kind of giving that overview. I think some of the challenges getting to that level when you need to, well, not even that, where it's time to start negotiating those contracts. So you have a smaller company that's now moved into a medium to a large size company. They're going to need some type of technology. I'm guessing that they don't know, they need to host their servers and host their data somewhere. Maybe they're trying to launch a SaaS or SaaS product. Yeah. And now they're trying to figure out what's the best way to optimize like my help desk and, my storage and my redundancy and all of those things. Is that where you step in?
Yeah, so you mentioned SaaS, software as a service, for the uninitiated, and pretty much a lot of things are SaaS model now. Like, so on the enterprise side, a lot of it went from on-prem software where your company is hosting everything itself to a subscription model where now you are paying on a monthly or some sort of annual basis for another company to host it. So if you are designing, if the nature of your company is to be a SaaS provider, and this can get into a whole other conversation about equity and investment and that sort of thing, but you want to design with compliance in mind, because you don't want to get to a point where you have a bunch of users for your SaaS offering. And that's great, right? You have a bunch of users, you're generating revenue, you're getting investment. But then, especially if you're taking your users' personally identifiable information, credit card numbers, social security numbers. So if you're like a healthcare driven app or software as a service or a financial, there are a lot of, fintech is huge. You want to bake compliance into your design so that you don't get too far and then you have a huge problem. But that's hard to do because those things come, building that into your product comes at a premium. And if you're on a shoestring budget, it's like, okay, do we want to take the chance and start generating revenue and then backtrack there? So I definitely understand the economic reality of that, but it's something that if, whatever way you can scramble to get the investment to then use that investment for that, that's the recommendation. And I know it's not easy.
Well, it's interesting because it's talking about the infrastructure pieces, right? You have a good legal team, you have a good compliance conversation, because if someone were looking to take your business down, that's the first thing they're going to look at, and the first thing they're going to try to attack is, how are you protecting this data? How do you ensure there are no data breaches? What are all of the different things that you're doing to protect individuals' access? So exactly. That's an important part. How do you partner with a compliance department with the legal work that you're doing?
Yeah, so with the legal work I do, I partner with a lot of different stakeholders within my clients. Like I said, enterprise clients, they have a lot of stakeholders. So it's usually the information security office, because they're the ones who are actually in charge of the security response in instances of a data breach. And so when I'm negotiating and my client's going to be giving their vendor access to their data, I want to make sure that that vendor has the proper infrastructure, use that word, the proper infrastructure to relay the information if there is a data breach to the right parties at the right time and the right information, because there are regulations that govern that, especially within certain industries. Like we know HIPAA, and then the SEC, those different governing, those different enforcement agencies have certain requirements. So I partner with the information security teams. I partner with the business users, because they're the ones who are actually using the tool, so they know what data they should know what data they're going to be giving the service provider access to. And it could be a host of other teams, but information security definitely is a big player in what I do.
Excellent, excellent. And so, like, if we circle back to some of the small business owners, there are also employees that are not yet small business owners. So,
Mm-hmm.
when you talk about legal teams and legal practices, what are some of the things that like employees should be thinking about? Should they have a legal team also?
Employees who are just strictly employees?
Yeah.
So a legal team, like for their personal needs?
Yeah, for their personal needs.
Yeah, so I'm very pro attorney because I'm an attorney. So I'll make that clear. I am a little biased, but as a business owner, as an attorney, as a professional, I'm very pro professional. Like, if you can, and this is a place, I'll recognize that this is speaking from a place of privilege, but if you can, and as often as you can, use professionals to do those professional things. So we talked about like the mechanic and YouTubing. Use a professional, especially like depending on your car. You don't want to, pretty much anyone with unless you're still driving like a 1990s car, like those are computers and you don't want to just mess with them. So even in for a personal sense, if you're an employee and you're working and you're getting a salary, you're getting money, you could start thinking about an estate plan. Even if you don't have children, even if you don't have I think a family of one. If you're one person, you're a family of one, right? So you could talk to an estate planning attorney. You might want to, a lot of people have side hustles. And so if you're going to maintain your employment and you have a side hustle, you might want to talk to an attorney about that side hustle. One, to make sure that you're not, you don't have any conflicts with what your side hustle is and your full-time employment, because some companies, I hope and I think it seems like it's changing, that companies are relaxing some of those restrictions, but some companies are like pretty oppressive and they don't want you to have an additional income, even though they're not going to pay you more. But that's, again, another conversation. So you might need to talk to a business attorney about that. Attorneys, there are lots of attorneys, like there are lots of different sorts of doctors. I think everyone will probably, hopefully encounter an attorney for good reasons, like you're starting your business, but there are also all of the negative things, personal injury, criminal, that sort of stuff, where you might encounter or need the services of an attorney personally.
Thank you. And I think one of the things I want to circle back to around the small businesses is that even as you start to build your business, you've got your, whatever your formation documents are, but now you're starting to think about hiring people, and not necessarily thinking like, how am I going to scale this business, but really thinking about like, how am I scaling this business? What are some of the thoughts that you'd like to kind of share around the legal process when it comes to like your first real hires?
Yeah, hiring people, that's a major thing that a lot of, small businesses, if it's a labor intensive business, you're going to need labor, and labor comes with a lot of compliance issues. And we've seen over the last few years how, like, we've seen this labor movement. So one of the things, just to be mindful, it's not even a legal issue, but just to be mindful, like how you treat employees, treat them like the people they are. So that's not even legal, just a basic thing. And then from the legal perspective, something that I've spent a lot of time on, and, employment attorneys especially, that confusion between an employee and an independent contractor. Most people want to go the independent contractor way because it saves money, but making sure that you're not misclassifying people if they're actually employees and you actually need to be paying them an employee salary or employee wages with all of the other benefits that come with being an employee as opposed to an independent contractor. So that's the big thing to make sure, and it's going to vary, state by state. So make sure that you're talking to someone who can help you do that analysis, and you can classify your first hires correctly.
Yeah, I think that that's a big issue with small businesses because sometimes they don't have consistent revenue. And even myself, right? You have a service-based business, it's contract-based, and you bring people on as you need them for the particular contract. But then looking at it long-term, how do you want to grow your business? And so being able to talk to an attorney, it sounds like, is the best way to understand when it's this or that. Is it an employee or a contract?
Yeah. And then again, I'm very pro attorney, but I'm also pro professional. So sometimes more attorneys, we're learning that, we're service providers, so we provide more comprehensive services. But when you're talking about growing and scaling, that might be another sort of business advisor as well. I know there are human resources, like outsourced human resources professionals that are really good at that sort of thing. And not to take away from attorneys, but it's just that whole team thing again. You want to build the team that's going to suit the needs you have. And so attorneys, I try to be as business friendly as possible, but a lot of business can be counter to what the legal requirements are. And so you want to work with that team that's going to bring all the information together to make the best decision.
Okay, thank you.
And to provide the most comprehensive advice.
I think comprehensive advice, understanding your particular, it's not a one size fit all. Like it's actually looking at what is my situation, what are the data points that help us make the right decision.
Yeah, and that's one thing I'll say about when I started my practice focusing on small businesses. I realized that small businesses have so many needs, and I am fully aware of what I'm not good at. And so that's when I realized, like, small businesses, a lot of times, and it's an honor, and I do want clients to come to me and let me be that like quarterback and send it in the right direction. But sometimes it's just so many different things, like marketing, business planning. I'm an attorney. I work with someone to do my marketing. I work with someone to come up with my business plan. And so small businesses, it really is, again, a conversation about resources and financial resources, because the start of it is your business plan. And in your business plan, you should know, like, I have to allocate this much to legal because my business has all of these legal needs, or I have to allocate this much to marketing because my business is going to be a very, marketing intensive business. And it's capital. We live in a capitalist society, so it all takes a lot of capital.
And, you said a very important point. The business plan, it's growing, and there are allocations to certain budget lines. Like, you need to allocate money towards your legal expense or towards your marketing expense. And so I want to just kind of circle back. When you started your firm, it sounds like there was one particular focus, and now you've pivoted to a different clientele. Tell us about that process for yourself and what steps you went through to make that transition. Because I think as business owners, we all set out with a certain client in mind, and then the market tells us otherwise for whatever reasons. And trust me, I know this because I experienced it firsthand. But, I think it's helpful for someone to hear it from your perspective.
Yeah, so I had a full business plan, and I worked with a professional to help me develop it. And ideally, I thought I would start an immigration practice the cash flow from that would finance me building my corporate practice. I don't have the temperament for immigration. It's just, that it didn't end up being the cash flow that I thought it would be. So quickly scrapped that part of my practice. And I have friends who still refer me immigration clients, and I'm here to tell you, I don't do that. So I started out like that. And then because of my previous experience, I had those corporate connections where I had 2 corporate clients right from the beginning. And so that ended up being a good and a bad thing, because now I had to change all of my marketing. And then those 2 corporate clients slowed down at the same time, and I hadn't really thought about marketing to corporate and how that would look. So I talked to a small business someone at the Small Business Development Center, and he told me to focus in on one specific industry, and that's how I got to tech. And I'm actually expanding my practice again because I heard another attorney say, he's been doing whatever for so long and now he can do something else. And I feel the same way. Like, I've been doing tech now for over 5 years and I'm really good at it and I enjoy it, but I see where I could leverage some of my tech experience in entertainment. And so now I'm trying to figure that out. Like, how do I market to that area, and how do I not alienate my tech prospects? So yeah, it's all a pivot. It's all research and labor intensive and capital. It all takes capital.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we're actually at the 30-minute mark. I wanted to give you this opportunity to share, like, what kind of clients are you looking for, and just kind of give everyone that last closing statement.
Oh, well, thank you for this opportunity. I'm always looking for clients who are looking to partner, as you mentioned, to partner with a service provider, because it's not just the product, to partner with a service provider to help them draft and negotiate structured deals for technology products and services. And as I mentioned, I'm moving into the entertainment space. So I won't say too much on that because I'm still working that out, but I just want to put that feeler out there.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us on Any Given Monday.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Latoya. This is great.